أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين أما بعد. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says in Surah Taha in verse 70, فَأُلْقِيَ السَّحَرَةُ سُجَّدًا قَالُوا آمَنَّا بِرَبِّ هَارُونَ وَمُوسَى. So the magicians fell down in prostration. They said, we have believed in the Lord of Aaron and Moses alayhi salam. Now this verse, there's a long story behind it. It's one of the longest stories about Prophet Musa alayhi salam in the Quran. It's in Surah Taha. And the beginning when Fir'aun saw a dream that one of the children of Israel is gonna be the end of him, is gonna kill him. So he ordered all of the children of Bani Israel, all their newborns, the firstborns, to be killed. But Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, His will had the person who was going to be the end of him was raised in his own house. We know the story how the mother put him in the box, and the box took him right to the palace, and he was raised in the palace of Fir'aun. And one day he got into he was helping another person with having an argument, and he killed the person by mistake. So he fled to Midian, fearing for his life, and he met Prophet Shu'aib there, got married to one of his daughters, and then after 8 or 10 years of the terms that he had with the Prophet Shu'aib, then he was out one cold night. He was with his family traveling, and he saw a light on the mountain. So he wanted to go and get piece of that light to get some warmth and to get some information. Now that night was the best night of his life. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala spoke to him on that night, and he introduced himself to this prophet. And Allah told him, he gave him a mission. But before he gave him the mission, he gave him 2 signs. One is you take your staff, you throw it, it becomes a huge snake, and then it goes back to being a staff again. And then the other one, he puts his hand to his side and gets it out. It'll be, white with no blemishes. So these were 2 signs that Allah gave Prophet Musa alayhi salam with a mission: go to Fir'aun and deliver the Bani Israel from bondage. Now, Moses showed Fir'aun when he went with Harun, and he showed Fir'aun this miracle. Fir'aun was arrogant. He recognized this as a great miracle, but he was arrogant. He challenged Musa that he can bring other magicians and counteract, his trick. He looked at it as a magician's trick. He didn't look at it as it's the truth. So he got, he made the challenge to Sayyidina Musa, and Sayyidina Musa, said, okay, we'll do it on Yawm al-Zina. It's one of their festivals. We'll do it in the morning, midday, before it got hot. Gather everyone, it's a holiday, gather everyone, and let's have it out. Let's have a contest. You think you can outdo this trick or not? So Fir'aun went and gathered the best magicians in the land. I mean, these people were experts in trickery and in their art. And he promised them, all kinds of, that they will be close, he will be from al-Muqarrabin. They will have whatever they want if they can beat Musa. So the magicians devised their plan and gathered to confront Musa. And in Surah Taha, verse 64, they were talking to each other. فَأَجْمِعُوا كَيْدَكُمْ ثُمَّ أَتُوا صَفًّا وَقَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْيَوْمَ مَنِ اسْتَعْلَى. Devise your plan, come in one line, and let's, and whoever wins today is going to have the upper hand. So in the next verse 65 and 66, they says, قَالُوا يَا مُوسَى إِمَّا أَن تُلْقِيَ وَإِمَّا أَن نَكُونَ أَوَّلَ مَنْ أَلْقَى قَالَ بَلْ أَلْقُوا. They made the challenge to Sayyidina Musa. He said, you can go first or we'll go first. Sayyidina Musa said, no, you go first. Musa wanted the magicians to begin because he knew that what he had was the truth and the miracle from Allah. And the truth never shies, away from a challenge. Because any fake challenge cannot stand up to the truth. Bring it, do your best. You think you can outdo Allah's miracle? Go ahead. Go ahead and start. So, in verse 66, فَإِذَا حِبَالُهُمْ وَعِصِيُّهُمْ يُخَيِّلُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ سِحْرِهِمْ أَنَّا تَسْعَى. And suddenly their ropes and staffs seemed to him from their magic that they were moving like snakes. So they devised a very elaborate trick. They had sticks and they colored them like snakes, and whatever they did. In another verse in Surah Al-A'raf in 116, قال ألقوا فلما ألقوا سحروا أعين الناس واسترهبوهم وجاءوا بسحر عظيم. He said, throw, and when they threw, they bewitched the eyes of the people and struck terror into them, and they presented a great feat of magic. Now, these magicians were not amateurs. They knew what they were doing. They were experts. They were at the top of their field. And they came up with this plan to look like, the stick turning into a snake. Verse 67, فَأَوْجَسَ فِي نَفْسِهِ خِيفَةً مُوسَى. And Moses sensed with himself apprehension. Now, tricks work on the weak-minded. If you have somebody who is strong like Musa, those tricks are not going to work on him. What the apprehension that he had was he was afraid that the people watching the sorcery going to be enamored with it and going to follow the magicians and not follow Allah. He was not afraid for himself. He was afraid the people were going to go astray and follow the magicians. But Allah Ta'ala says, قُلْنَا لَا تَخَفْ إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْأَعْلَى. Allah told him, fear not, indeed, it is you who are superior. وَأَلْقِ مَا فِي يَمِينِكَ تَلْقَفْ مَا صَنَعُوا إِنَّمَا صَنَعُوا كَيْدُ سَاحِرٍ وَلَا يُفْلِحُ السَّاحِرُ حَيْثُ أَتَى. So Allah told them, throw that is in your right hand, and it will swallow up what they have crafted. What they have crafted is but the trick of a magician, and the magician will not succeed wherever he is. This is a divine law. وَلَا يُفْلِحُ السَّاحِرُ حَيْثُ أَتَى. Anyone who tries to fake their way around the truth will always fail. You may not have to bring actual magic, but if you try to confuse people away from the truth, you'll always lose, because the truth will always win. And an interesting point, وَأَلْقِ مَا فِي يَمِينِكَ, and throw what is in your right hand. The ulama of Tawheed said that this points to a precise fact. That thing in his hand, what is it? Allah did not say, throw your staff. What is it? Is it a staff? Is it a snake? What is it? Whatever is in your hand is whatever Allah wants it to be. If Allah wants it to be a stick, it will be a stick. If Allah wants it to be a huge snake, it'll be a huge snake. It's whatever Allah permits that object to be. And iron is strong, but Allah made it soft and pliable in the hands of Prophet David. So he used to make chinks of armor with it. So that's just an interesting point, that Allah did not say throw your staff. He said throw what's in your right hand. And that's how we understand everything around us. It's whatever Allah wanted it to be, and He can change it at any time and it's easy for Him. So what the magicians brought was tricks and fakery. But the staff of Musa with Allah's miracle became a huge snake. Now, do snakes eat ropes and sticks? No. But that particular snake went in and ate everything that these magicians were trying to deceive the people with. And the miracle of Allah and the sign was complete and very clear. Nobody could refute that what they saw was something, out of the usual. I mean, these are magicians at the top of their game, and somebody just blew them out of the water. That's why فَأُلْقِيَ السَّحَرَةُ سُجَّدًا. Now, so the magicians fell down in prostration. Now, they recognized that this was a miracle. This was not a trick. This was not somebody who's trying to fool their eyes. This was an actual stick turning into a live snake that did something snakes don't do, and then turned back into a staff. La ilaha illallah. I mean, Allah does whatever He wants in this universe. Now, if you look at verse 70, فَأُلْقِيَ السَّحَرَةُ سُجَّدًا. Allah did not say فَسَجَدَ السَّحَرَةُ and the magicians prostrated. No, as if something threw them on the ground and forced them into that position. فَأُلْقِيَ, as if they were thrown down into that position. What threw them? What threw them is al-haq. The truth. When the truth comes down on people who are trying to oppress it, it comes down like a ton of bricks. So they were forced to go down and prostrate to the Lord of that miracle. Now, any person who is not moved by the signs of Allah is dead, is not alive. Allah described them as amwatun ghayru ahya. If your heart is not alive and you recognize the signs of Allah, you're not alive. You're dead. You're walking dead. And the universe is filled with signs of the greatness of Allah. But, I mean, a lot of times we don't appreciate it because we got used to it. You look at the milk that comes out of a cow. Isn't that a miracle? Allah says in Surah An-Nahl in verse 66, وَإِنَّ لَكُمْ فِي الْأَنْعَامِ لَعِبْرَةً نُسْقِيكُم مِّمَّا فِي بُطُونِهِ مِن بَيْنِ فَرْثٍ وَدَمٍ لَبَنًا خَالِصًا سَائِغًا لِلشَّارِبِينَ. And indeed for you in grazing livestock is a lesson. We give you drink from what is in their bellies, between excretion and blood, pure milk palatable to drinkers. Now there is no device on earth that can take grass and give you milk. But a cow does. Is there any human invention that can even come close to Allah's miracle? This cow is a miracle. There are so many things around us. They're miracles, but we get used to them, so we don't recognize them. You look at the chicken and the egg. The egg is a miracle. The egg, the chicken eats everything. And then comes out of this egg that has a life in it. It has it's a full, nutrition. You can eat an egg, it has everything in it. I mean, these are miracles that we fail to see. So everything in existence points to the greatness of the Creator and invites us to prostrate for Allah. And our prostration is in obedience, in obedience to His directions and thanking Him for all of His benefits. And these magicians, they said, قَالُوا آمَنَّا بِرَبِّ مُوسَى وَبِرَبِّ هَارُونَ وَمُوسَى. They did not only believe in Allah, they believed in His prophets too. That statement, that's what it means. It means they believed in Allah and His prophets. And at this point, Fir'aun stepped in. He sensed somebody was trying to make a coup on his position and trying to compete with him and trying to get him out of leadership. He said, قَالَ آمَنْتُمْ لَهُ قَبْلَ أَنْ آذَنَ لَكُمْ. You believed in him before I allow you? I mean, look at the arrogance. He saw the exact same miracle that the magicians saw. The magicians recognized it was the truth, but Fir'aun was arrogant. He was looking as material things. This is my mulk. Somebody's trying to outdo me and get me out of my mulk. إِنَّهُ لَكَبِيرُكُمُ الَّذِي عَلَّمَكُمُ السِّحْرَ. And he's still calling it a sorcery and trickery. فَلَأُقَطِّعَنَّ أَيْدِيَكُمْ وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ مِنْ خِلَافٍ وَلَأُصَلِّبَنَّكُمْ فِي جُذُوعِ النَّخْلِ وَلَتَعْلَمُنَّ أَيُّنَا أَشَدُّ عَذَابًا وَأَبْقَىٰ. He threatened them. He was going to kill them. He was going to crucify them, cut their hands and feet, and, threaten. Now, threatening works on weak people. When you look at the seerah of the Sahaba, they would be cut in pieces alive and will never, go against Allah's orders. And these magicians, they saw the signs. They saw the signs and they recognized that the owner of this miracle is a great Lord. And if he's a great Lord, that means his punishment is most severe and his reward is unimaginable. So if you look at these magicians, just moments ago before this miracle, in Surah Al-Shu'ara, in verse 44, فَأَلْقَوْا حِبَالَهُمْ وَعِصِيُّهُمْ وَقَالُوا بِعِزَّةِ فِرْعَوْنَ إِنَّا لَنَحْنُ الْغَالِبُونَ. Just moments ago, they were throwing their sticks and they saying, by the izzah of Fir'aun, we're gonna be victorious. They went, after they saw the miracle of Musa, they turned 180 degrees. They saw al-haq, they recognized it, and they left their position and went and followed Musa. It's like, this is trickery. What we brought is trickery. Your stuff is the real thing. So, the magicians, their response to Fir'aun was precise and complete. They told him, قالوا لن نؤثرك على ما جاءنا من البينات والذي فطرنا فاقض ما أنت قاض إنما تقضي هذه الحياة الدنيا. They said, never we will prefer you over what has come to us of clear proof and over he who created us. So decree whatever you are to decree. You only decree for this worldly life. So the magicians knew there was a higher power. What's the worst Fir'aun can do to them? Torture them, kill them, and then what? Then they have Jannah for eternity. But if they follow Fir'aun and disobey Allah, they may be saved for a little bit, but they're going to have to contend with eternity of punishment. And they were not ready to accept that. They were ready to accept the immediate minor punishment in lieu of the hereafter. And that's the right approach. Such is the belief in Allah. It gives you the courage to confront a tyrant, because you know that the worst they can do to you is torture you and kill you. But then, what after that? And they told him, إِنَّهُ مَنْ يَأْتِ رَبَّهُ مُجْرِمًا فَإِنَّ لَهُ جَهَنَّمَ لَا يَمُوتُ فِيهَا وَلَا يَحْيَا. So indeed, whoever comes to his Lord as a criminal, indeed for him is hell. He will neither die therein nor live. There is no living or dying in Jahannam. Because you're not comfortable, you're not living. And there is no death to get them out of their misery. It's constant misery. And they recognized that and they said, no, do whatever you want with us. We will not follow you. Now, this story is really, we are the ones meant behind the story. The stories in the Quran are not just to quote what happened or historical events or just something to, to give us information. The lesson to learn from it is when you take a position and then you find the truth in another position, abandon that position and go to what's better. That's what the magicians did. They made a stand. They were going to go with Fir'aun and ally themselves to him. And, but when they saw the truth and they recognized it, they were not arrogant like Fir'aun and stood by their initial position. They abandoned their position and they went, followed the truth. And that's what a believer does. A believer always seeks the truth. Wherever that truth is, that's where he goes. If you take a position, you take an oath, and you find another thing that's better, the directions of the Prophet ﷺ in Sahih Muslim, من حلف على يمين فرأى غيرها خيرا منها فليكفر عن يمينه وليفعل الذي هو خير. If you take an oath and you find something better than your oath, then you expiate your oath and you do what is better. You always change your position to what is better. You never insist on your position. And we know that there's a lot of people, they're arrogant. I mean, they know they're wrong, but hey, I made a stand, I said a word, and my word cannot be changed. That's arrogance. People that that do have that type of mentality, you have to fear for them. Because a believer, a believer is pliable. Wherever the truth is, I go with the truth. I don't care about if the truth came from somebody above me or somebody below me. If a little child comes in and tells you the truth, or if you made a mistake and tells you the truth, accept it. Accept it and change it. Don't insist on your position. And the Prophet ﷺ showed us this by example. One time he was praying Asr, and after 2 rak'ahs, he made salam. And one of the companions, and perhaps maybe he was the lowest in rank among them, he told them, "Oh Prophet, was the prayer shortened, or did you forget?" Now the Prophet says, "No, none of that happened." And he asked the people that were there, and they confirmed, "Yes, Ya Rasulullah, you made salam after 2 rak'ahs." He just stood up and said, Allah made me forget so I can have a sunnah for you. Because if the Prophet never forgot, how are we going to learn about the sunnah when you make a mistake in prayer? What do you do? And he simply stood up and completed the 4 rak'ahs. And that was that. Another instance in the Battle of Badr. The Prophet ﷺ took the army and took them to a point and said, "We're going to camp here and we're going to wait for Quraysh." Now, one of the companions who was an expert in warfare, very humbly and very polite, asked him, "Ya Rasulullah, is this an order from Allah, or is this your own planning for your opinion, basically? Is it Allah's order or your opinion?" He said, "No, it's my opinion." Then he says, "Respectfully, I have a better option. Let's go to this other spot and do X, Y, Z." And the Prophet ﷺ looked at him and was like, "Yes, that is a better plan." He ordered the army, move and relocate. Just like that. How many people do we know that a leader, somebody in the lower rank tells him something different? Who are you to question me? I am the leader, and my word cannot become two, blah, blah. That's nonsense. That is not the behavior of a believer. A believer, when he sees something better, he takes it. He does not insist. It could be, my idea is this, you come up with a better idea. I'll take your idea. I'm not attached to my idea, because if your goal is to obey Allah and to do what's best for the ummah, you take the best advice, and it may not be yours. It could be perhaps the lowest rank of the group. It does not matter. So this is a lesson for us, because Jibreel alayhi salam could have come down and told the Prophet, go and park, and put the army in that spot. He did not do that. He wanted to leave it up to the community, because advising each other and brotherhood is one of the most effective way to come up with the best solution. If you go in and decide to go on a venture by yourself without consulting anyone, you may be successful, but chances are you're going to make a mistake. If you consult with a bunch of people that you trust and you know that they have your best interest in mind, you'll come up with a better outcome. The more people you consult, the better the outcome is. And this is how Allah wants us. So the moral of the story, and the whole point I want to make from this khutbah, is if you see the truth in another position, do not insist on your position and change to that position. Do not be stubborn and say, "No, I made that decision, I will not change." Change it. If it's for the better, change it. So أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لكم فاستغفروه إنه الغفور الرحيم.